So welcome to our class today, our gentle class. And it is the winter solstice. For some reason, I want to keep saying the summer solstice, but it's the winter solstice. I guess if we were in Australia, it would be the summer solstice, but it is winter here where we are at least. And the winter solstice is, of course, traditionally a time to celebrate the coming of the light as the days get longer from here on in until the summer solstice. We celebrate that we have more light each day. But there's another side to the solstice, and I want to talk as well about that today. And that is the darkness. So we're also celebrating the darkness and honoring the darkness, as well as celebrating the light. I find it interesting that in the summer solstice, it's the longest day of the year and we celebrate the light. And at the winter solstice, it's the shortest day of the year and we celebrate the light. But I think what happens often, and not just in this situation, is we try to deny the darkness in our human selves, in the world, and focus on the light. And of course, that's wonderful, right? Focusing on what's positive, what we want, what's good is great. However, if we deny our human darkness, the parts of us that get depressed, that get angry, that get sad, that grieve, all of that stuff that's more difficult to deal with, that feels icky sometimes, and we'd rather not look at it, I'll call that the darkness, that if we ignore and push that down, it has a way of popping up when we least expect it, and often not very conveniently either. And so to be a fully human and fully alive, it's about integrating both the light and the dark. So it's not about ignoring one and focusing on the other, or getting pulled into that darkness and being kind of stuck there, right? Because we can get into that, oh, things are hard, things are difficult, and we can spiral and spiral down. And so today I'm going to encourage you with your breath to, on every inhale, feel the expansion of the light and the lightness that comes with that. But with the exhale, feel that going inward, right? The darkness is a time where we can kind of marinate a little bit and grow our roots down and become more fertile and grow up from that place. So both are equally beautiful, equally necessary, equally important, yet we tend to really only want to celebrate the light. So today we're going to celebrate the light and the dark. So we're going to start seated. If you have a cushion or a chair to sit on, great. Otherwise, just whatever's comfortable for you. And I will see you on the mat. So just take the time to get yourselves comfortable wherever you're sitting. And feeling your sit bones sinking down into the earth. And as your sit bones sink down into the earth, imagine that sinking down of roots from your sit bones going right down into the earth, into that darkness, into the fertile soil of the earth. And as you exhale, feel a sense of deepening connection to your roots. And then starting to tune into also the energy of your inhalation. So the inhalation is about expansion, a lifting or a lightening feeling. So as you focus a few breaths on your inhalation, feel that sense of lifting and expanding and filling yourself with breath, as if you were expanding with light. And as you exhale, keep having that feeling of dropping into the roots, dropping into the earth. Each inhalation, feeling of expansion. And the quality, light's quality is expansion. And if you put a light in a little box, you'll have a boxed amount of light. And if you put that same light in a big room, you will have light to fill the whole room. So light's quality is expansiveness. It expands to fill the space. Darkness is contracting. It goes inward and down. So as you exhale, feel that contracting inward, downward energy of darkness. Inhale the upward, expansive, moving energy of lightness. We'll take a few more breaths like this. And what the breath reminds us is the darkness always turns back to the light, and the light always finds its way to that deep, rich, fertile darkness. This ever-going cycle. Let's add a little cat-cow movement for the spine. So as you inhale now, shoulders back, chest lifting, a little more expansiveness, and then exhale, moving into yourself, drawing in by bringing the head down, rounding the back, and then lifting and expanding. So each breath starts to create this beautiful balance. Expansion, light, contraction, dark. And then coming back to the neutral spine, bring your hands, palms together, put a little pressure into your hands to feel the muscles across the chest engage and wake up, the wrists and arms engaged and alive. You can keep the fingers together and take the heels of your hands a little bit away so you're pressing the fingers into a little more stretch. And then release and take the backs of the hands together, fingertips pointing down, and gently press together to feel a little stretch in the top of the wrists. And then we'll do some rotations. You can just roll the hands around any direction, just rolling them together. And roll the other way as well. Right, and then palms back together, sitting up tall, feeling your roots go down and feel as grounded as you can in this moment without kind of slumping into your seat. Feel that sense of really dropping into your seat. And then from there, find a lift, lifting the arms, breathing in, expanding through the sides of the rib cage. Let's exhale and circle. And if I ever don't tell you to breathe at the right pace, please breathe in a way that's comfortable for you. Breathing in, exhale, circling around. Let's do that one more time. So still feeling your roots really solid as we create a sense of expansion all around. One more time. Right. And then if you're on the floor, you can bring your fingertips to the ground. And if you're on a chair, maybe just bring your hand to the seat of the chair. We'll lift up with one arm, keeping both sit bones anchored, a little movement to the side, and then coming up and release. We'll do the same side a few times. So you can reach over and lift up. Bend the arm that you're going towards so you're not jamming your shoulder up into your ear. And this time, if it feels good, you can stay for a few breaths. You're not trying to go as far to the side as you can. Mainly here, keeping both seat bones anchored. And then as you breathe, feeling the expansion into this whole side of the body that's lengthened here. And then let's come up. Pause for a moment. You can let your hands rest on your knees, maybe even close your eyes. And notice if you're feeling more contracted on one side, more expanded on the other. Just notice that difference between contraction and expansion between the two sides of your body. See if you're able to discern any difference. And if not, it may be very subtle. And then we'll move to the other side. So fingertips down, or again, you could hold your chair if you're sitting on a chair. Other arm lifts up. And we're going to gently take it to the side, just a little bit, keeping the sit bones anchored, coming up and then to the side. Really tuning into where your edges are and staying really clear of them, so not pushing into or past your edges as we warm up here. Great. Make the next one your last one. If you like, you can stay. And again, press down into your sit bones. Feel evenly weighted through your seat, lifting up through the arm. You can bend the arm if it feels more comfortable for your shoulder. And then breathing into that long side that you've created by this position. Okay, let's come up and release. And we'll go back to that forward and back extension and flexion movement for the spine. So bringing things back to alignment and equalness. Right, and coming back to the center again. And let's take the head and turn it to one side. And then slowly sweep the chin across the front of your chest to come up to the other side. And then in your own time, sweep back, down, and across. So go side to side a few times. Go at your own pace. And our goal today is to maintain a sense of grounding while we find as much ease in the body as possible. It's one of the main goals of yoga, actually. And it fits so nicely in with our theme today. If you like, you can make some full circles with your head. Be careful not to strain the neck by letting it fall back behind your shoulders. And then at some point, try switching the direction of your circles. Right, and then come back to the center. So if you're like me and you're sitting cross-legged, you may want to give your legs a little stretch out, or wherever they are, and give them a little shake. And then feet can go side to side, just releasing any holding in the hips here. Right, and then we're going to swing the legs around and come onto hands and knees. So from your all fours position, we're going to move into the cat-cow movement. So as you inhale, letting the tail lift, the chest comes forward between the arms, head lifts slightly. And then as you exhale, you're rounding your back, tucking your chin in. Inhale, chest comes forward, tail lifts. Exhale, rounding. So you can stay with this movement if you like. And if you feel like you want a little bit more, you can move your hips back toward your heels as you exhale. Coming to child's pose and then back to all fours with your inhale. Be cautious not to lock your elbows and dump into your shoulders here. So press down into the arms. Keep strong but soften the arms. And then coming back to all fours, let's tuck the toes under, and please be really careful with this. If your toes don't bend easily, so you've got more weight on the tops of your toes, this may not feel good. Or if you've got any issues with the joints of your toes, big toe joints especially, you want to be cautious. But we'll walk back, bringing more and more weight towards the feet. Now, this may be plenty of stretch for you. You may even want to stay more up. If it feels good for you and your feet feel comfortable with this position, you could try lifting your hands up. That's pretty intense, so that may be the case for you too. It's not for everybody. Some people find this a beautiful stretch and others find that it's really painful. So please, please, please listen to yourself. So we're going to make our way to a standing forward bend. You can get there however you want. If it's available to you, you can try lifting the knees from kneeling to come to a squat. And then from there, you'll slowly move the legs a little straighter, let your head come down. And then we're going to uncurl from there, letting the arms hang down, unrolling slowly to come upright to a standing position. So, mountain pose, Tadasana. It is similar to seated in that whatever is on the ground, in this case it's the feet. When we were seated it was the sit bones. They create the roots, the foundation to go down into the earth. So let your weight sink into your heels. Feel yourself drop down into the roots, going down into the earth. And then from there, a little lift through the heart, shoulders draw down and back. So there's this feeling that there's expansion across the heart, dropping down into the feet. From here, let's lift the arms, breathing in, making a big circle right up. You can touch the fingertips together, and then exhale, coming down. If you want to add a bit more challenge, and we will work with the feet a bit more later, you can also raise the heels as you lift the arms. And then see if you can challenge yourself to lower the heels slowly as the arms come down. So inhale, you're lifting, maybe lifting the heels as well. Exhale, sinking down. Good again. Okay, we'll make this the last one. All right, wonderful. And then just give your legs a little shake. Shake the arms. Okay. And as I mentioned, we'll work with the feet a little bit next. So what you're going to do is take a step forward, just a small step as if you're walking, and bend both knees. Your weight is over your back leg. And the idea is you want to feel some stretch in the back ankle. So you can play around with how close or how far your feet are, how much your knees are bent to feel that stretch in the back ankle. And then switch sides. So other foot steps forward. You're bending both knees and looking for a bit of stretch in that back ankle. It actually doesn't matter if your front knee is bent or not in terms of the stretch, but I just find it's easier to balance than if I straighten my front leg. So I've got this nice sort of easy stance going on. Great. And then we'll come back to standing mountain pose. And then the next one, so that stretched the back of the ankle. This one will stretch the front of the ankle. You want to be a little bit careful with this one because too much stretch can make your foot cramp up. And so you'd like to ideally avoid the cramping. But if your foot does cramp up, what I would suggest is just bring your toes down and stretch your heel forward to stretch the arch of your foot. So what we'll do is we'll take the top of the foot to the mat or the ground. And you can really just let the weight of your leg hang down to create some stretch for your foot. Or if you want more stretch, you can gently push down toward the ground. And then if it feels good, you can roll over to your baby toe, roll to your big toe, side to side, to stretch across the top of the foot and the ankle. Great. And then you can lift that foot. If you need to hold on to something to balance, feel free, or you can bring the foot to the ground and circle the ankle with your toes down. So whichever works for you. And then you can give that leg a little shake. And we'll do the other side. I'm going to turn around so I melt the other side of my body against this wood stove here. So top of the foot down. So again, if your foot starts to cramp or even threaten to cramp, The best thing to do is turn the toes under, press the heel forward, and stretch out the arch of your foot a little. So again, you can roll side to side. Okay, and then lift or keep the toes down as you circle your ankle around. And give it a shake. Okay, bring your foot down. And then lifting up onto the toes of one foot, press the heel forward. Similar stretch to what we were doing when we were kneeling, although this is a little less intense because you're not sitting on your heels. And then other side. Right, and then release. And then let's bend and straighten the legs a few times. Great. So the next one, if you take a step forward again, but this time a little longer of a step forward. Back foot is pointing straight forward. It can be slightly out to the side so you're balanced, but you don't want it turned too far out to the side or it's going to have an effect on the stretch in the back calf. From here, bend your front knee and bring your hands down onto your front knee. If you don't feel any stretch in your back calf here, you can take the foot and stretch it, or take the whole leg and stretch back a little further. And then it doesn't matter if your heel comes all the way to the ground or not, you'll feel the stretch regardless. If your heel comes to the ground though and you don't feel much stretch, you need to take a wider stance to feel this. And then to engage the calf, we're going to press into the toes and come up and then press the heel down toward the ground. And then press and lift. So you're rocking a bit forward and back. If you find it easier to hold a chair or something here, that would be another option. All right. Press the heel down for a couple of breaths. And then we can step forward again. Maybe pause for a moment and notice one leg versus the other, the one we've just stretched the calf and the other. Maybe notice which one feels more grounded, if either, maybe neither. Right, and then we'll step back with the other foot. Hands on the knee. And again, find your perfect distance, a little closer, a little further, so the heel either comes to the ground or almost to the ground. And then you can try lifting and pressing back. Again, don't worry about how to breathe here, but do keep breathing. Right, you can keep the heel pressing toward the ground for a few breaths. And then stepping your feet back together. And again, let's bend and straighten a few times. Feet slightly apart now. And we'll circle the hips. Bring your hands onto the hips, do a few circles. We'll move into some thigh stretches in the next round. So just warming things up around the hips. You can go one way and then the other a few times. Right, and again, coming back to the center. So for the next one, you may want to have blocks or a chair in front of you. So if you imagine doing warrior pose, which we'll be doing something like warrior, and coming into a forward bend. So if it's a chair in front of you, if it's blocks, or if you happen to be able to reach the ground, that's fine, either way. If you want to get yourself set up with something, if you need it, in front of you, and then you can step one foot up towards the front of your mat, towards your blocks or your chair or whatever you've got. For this one, the back foot will turn out to the side a little bit, and that's going to help give you a nice stable base. Press down into your back heel. Let the hips turn so they're facing your front foot as much as possible. So if any of these adjustments don't feel right for you, then work in a way that honors your own body. You can bend the front knee a little bit. And you're going to reach down for the ground or blocks or chair, whatever you've got handy. So we're going to work with the back of the front leg, the hamstrings area, by straightening and bending that front leg. So it doesn't have to come all the way straight. You're moving until you feel the stretch that's right for you. If that's straight, fine. If that's still bent somewhat or even a lot, that's fine. So it's all about finding the right position, right movement for you. And then hone in on a place where the leg is straight enough to feel a good stretch, but bent enough to feel relaxed. So you're feeling the stretch, but it's not creating tension. And then let your head release. You can even shake your head a little side to side to make sure you're not holding tension in your neck. Okay, and then I'm going to bend the front knee so it's more or less over the ankle. Lift up, right, bringing your hands onto your hips. So now we're going to focus on the back leg and this front part of the hip, front part of the thigh. So here with the front knee bent, think about engaging your belly, moving your belly button back a little bit and dropping your tailbone down. So when you come into this position, naturally your pelvis is tilted a little forward. We're just trying to bring the pelvis back to level. And as you do that, you may feel a bit of stretch in the front of the hip or the thigh of the back leg. If you don't feel much stretch, again, sometimes it can be quite subtle, or you may need to widen your stance a little bit. So whichever leg is forward, you're going to take the hand on that side, bring it onto your hip, and then the other arm reaches up. Press into your back heel. Feel like your heel is sending roots into the earth, and then feel the expansion and lift towards the sun with your arm. Grow in two directions in this pose. Right, and let's take the hand down to the front knee now. So we're coming across the body. So if it's your right hand, it'll be your left leg. And then turn slowly to look back over your back shoulder. So be very cautious. If you have a chair there, you may want to use the chair for better balance. Right, coming around to the center. We're going to lift both arms up and release. Let's step the feet together and pause for a moment. So notice the difference from one side to the other. If there is a difference, there may not, or it may be very subtle, too subtle to notice. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So whichever foot was back, you're going to bring that foot forward. The foot that was forward will step back. We'll start with a bent knee of the front leg. And we'll reach down for the ground or blocks or a chair. And very gently and slowly start to move the legs straighter and then more bent. And then you can find a place where perhaps it feels good to stay, where you can relax and enjoy the stretch without strain. Breathing, softening, each inhalation, that expansion into the light. Each exhalation, drawing down into the darkness and fertility of the earth. Bending the front knee again, and slowly rise up. The hands can come onto the hips. And again, we want to think about bringing the hips back level. So that means drawing back with the upper part of the pelvis, down with the lower part. So it's sort of this coming back to neutral. So see if you can find that action a little bit. And when you do, you might feel a little stretch in the front part of the back leg. And then once there, hand that corresponds with the front leg can come to your hip. And then the arm that corresponds to your back leg reaches up. And we want to really feel that connected line from the back heel through the body, right up through the top hand. So you feel the roots going down, the expansion and lifting up through your top hand. And then you'll reach the hand across for the opposite leg, and then turn back to look towards your back shoulder or elbow. And find your balance here. It's a little trickier. Good. And then around to the front, releasing to lift the arms. And then exhale, arms down. And we'll bring the feet back together. So again, pause for a moment. We worked a lot with the legs here, starting right down at the feet, the calves, the shins, the hamstrings, the quadriceps, the hip flexors. So feeling your legs now, feeling perhaps any sensations that are present in your legs. Great. And then let's lift the shoulders, roll them back and down a couple of times and add a bit of a bounce. So as the arms come forward and down, bending the knees, straightening as you lift up and back. Right. And then let's get a little more of the body into it. So you can swing one arm and then the other, let the hips go, let the head release. You can change the planting of your feet to be a little wider if you like. The feet could move with this action. So, and then feel free to just ad lib a little bit. Let your body sway, let your arms move. Whatever would feel good to you. No prescription, just letting your body dance. I don't know if you can hear the creaking of the floor, but it's pretty loud over here. Great, and then come back to a little wiggle, shake, just letting everything go. And then once again, let's find our way to Tadasana or mountain pose. So feet under the hips, heels sinking into the earth, legs solid and strong. And imagine the roots going down from your heels into the dark, rich soil, the darkness where everything gets to kind of be all, I'm not sure the words I'm trying to get at here, but that creative process in the dark. And then eventually there's a growing up like all plants. So your roots go down, your upper body expands up into the light. And we're really honoring both, honoring the light and the expansion and the beauty of the sun, and honoring the earth, honoring that deep, dark richness of the earth, and honoring both of those in ourselves. So we're going to come into a forward bend now. So you start by softening your knees, let your shoulders kind of round forward, let your head hang down, and we're going to slowly roll down. Now, if you have issues with your lower back, you may want to brace yourself against your legs as you come forward. Otherwise, you can allow your body to curl over any amount that feels good. You can either brace against your thighs with your arms, or hold your arms and hang, or just let the arms hang. Check in with your neck. Make sure you're not holding tension in your neck. Keep your knees soft. If you have any pressure issues, blood pressure, head pressure, headache, anything, keep your head above your heart. Keep your elbows on your thighs. Maintain that balance, head in line with heart or head higher than heart. Right now, let's slowly come up. You can reach up as you come up, reaching the arms up overhead and exhaling to release. So we'll do a little bit of a modified sun salutation, honoring the sun, honoring the growing light in our days, but at the same time, and every sun salutation is inhaling and exhaling. It includes both. So we're also going to be honoring that inward movement. And if you notice the sun salutation, it does all of this, opening and then going inward, opening and going inward. It is exactly how our human bodies and human lives kind of work. We can't stay in the light. We don't stay in the dark. We're always going between. So you want to come near the front of your mat. And again, if you have blocks handy, you can use them. If not, that's fine. Sinking down into your heels. Let's raise the arms and bring the hands together, bringing the hands to the heart. And take a moment in your own words to honor that part of you that goes inward, that contracts, that maybe withdraws, that moves into darkness. Maybe that's for you sometimes depression, or we all deal with feelings of grief and sadness. But not getting stuck there. So also honoring the place that lives fully with joy and openness. And as we go into our sun salutation, equally honoring both of these energies in ourselves. So waking up the light as we lift the hands, honoring the sun, honoring the light, spreading it all around us as we go inward into that darker, more contemplative place. Pausing here. And then inhale, hands to shins, expanding again. Feel the heart lift. And then exhale, going inward, softening. You can bring your hands to your blocks here if you have them, or fingertips to the ground, or a chair again. Like I said, it's a modified sun salutation, so not the whole thing. We're going to step back with the right foot, turn it to the side for warrior, or if you want more challenge, step back further and have your toes pointed forward, ball of your foot on the ground for lunge. And then you can choose to keep your hands down, or you can lift up from here. Good. And then coming forward, we will step forward. Inhale, hands to shins. Find that length and lift in the heart. Exhale back into that dark, contemplative, fertile ground. And then we'll come back, hands again to the blocks or to the floor or whatever is handy. And you'll step back with the other foot. So again, easier, shorter stance, foot to the side in warrior, more challenging. Ball of your foot down, toes forward in a wider stance for lunge. And then you can lift up if you like. Inhaling. Exhaling, coming forward. And step forward. Hands to shins, lift the heart. Exhale, fold forward, moving into that darkening place for a breath or two. And then we'll inhale and come all the way up. And exhale, releasing the arms. Back to mountain pose. So for this next one, we're going to end up in either downward dog with the hands and feet on the ground, or you can come to all fours if that's a better option for you. And you probably won't need your blocks for this one. They may just end up getting in your way. So again, inhale, lifting up. Let's bring the hands together at the heart. Find a little lift in your heart. At the same time, you feel your heels sink into the earth. The balance of those two important vital energies. And then inhale, lift. Expanding, exhale, moving inward, going down. Pause here in the forward bend. And then choosing either to step your feet back to downward dog or to step your knees back under you to all fours. And if you come to downward dog and it's comfortable for you, you can stay a few breaths walking on the spot. If you come to all fours, you can do a little forward and back from all fours to child's pose. And when you're ready to come out of downward dog, if you're there, letting the knees come down, and we'll circle the hips. They can be little circles up over the knees or bigger circles coming all the way back to the heels. You can go one way and then the other. And then if child's pose is a pose that's comfortable for you, you can either do this with your knees together or you can separate the knees. Give yourself a little more space for your belly and your breath. Whatever is good for you. Coming down either onto the forearms or you can bring your forehead to the ground if that's available to you. And we'll stay here for a number of breaths. Moving into that dark, quiet place, the place of rebirth, of growth. Breathing here, and of course, if you're not comfortable in child's pose, we're going next onto our back, so you can just go there at any time that you're ready. And then eventually, from child's pose, you can find your way either back to all fours or onto your heels. We'll swing the legs around and come to lie down. So take your time to come to a comfortable position on your mat. We'll do a little bit more movement here. But we'll start with just a little bit of breath awareness again. So with your knees bent or legs straight, if that's more comfortable, that's fine. Hands can rest somewhere on your body where you feel your breath. And come back to this idea of expanding like light with your breath in. And sinking down into the darkness as you exhale. We don't want to get stuck in either place, so each breath reminds us to lift ourselves into the light as we breathe in, and to surrender and honor the darkness as we sink down with the exhale. And then if your legs are straight, you'll want to bend your knees for the next one. And if your knees are bent, you might move your feet in or out so that your feet are roughly the same distance apart as your hips. And then arms can come away from the body, rest on the floor out to the sides, and we'll work with a gentle twist. So taking the knees gently one way, you can start with a little movement and then back to center, and then the other way, and back to center. And as your body warms up to this movement, you can add a little bit more. So taking the knees a little further down to each side as you go. Really going slowly and honoring your body. And if it doesn't feel good, modify, make the movement smaller, or stop altogether and try something else that might feel better to your body. And then bring it back to the center. We'll bring both knees in to the chest and let one hand rest on each knee. And then you're drawing the knees towards you as you breathe out. You're moving the knees away from you as you breathe in. Same idea here as we bring the knees in, the lower back lengthens. There's a kind of heaviness in the body. As we inhale, the knees move away. There's expansion, a little more lightness in the body. Dropping into that darkness with the exhale. Expanding and celebrating the light with the inhale. Go at your own pace a few more times. And then next time you're ready to inhale, you can stretch the legs toward the ceiling, take the arms behind you. If it's more comfortable to the sides, that's fine as well. And then exhale, knees to chest. So inhaling, either reaching out to the sides or overhead, listening to your shoulders and honoring whatever you notice there. And if possible, stay with that visualization of breathing in light, expansion, ease, and joy. And exhale, softening into the darkness, that fertile, contemplative place of quiet, dark. It may also be a very easeful place as well. Right. And then holding the knees, rocking a little side to side, or if you prefer, you can do a few circles with your knees. And then maybe circling, not just with the knees together, but separating the knees and circling them around independently. And then when you feel complete with that, you can let your feet come back to the floor. Stretching your legs out along the ground. And taking the arms either, again, overhead, if that's comfortable for your shoulders, or out to the sides. And you're gonna reach out through your fingertips, reach down through your heels. Take a few long, full breaths here, not forcing or straining the breath, but breathing completely. And then when you're ready, slowly lower your arms down. And relax the legs, let the feet fall away from each other out to the sides. Take a moment to notice your body in its entirety. Notice what sensations are present. Feeling where the body makes contact with the ground. And simply feeling into your whole body, not just one part or another. Being aware of your whole being, your whole body. And then we're going to move next into Shavasana. So if you're comfortable right where you are, you could just stay as you are. If you want to make any adjustments to be more comfortable or cozier, then take a minute or two to get yourself organized so that you'll be as comfortable as possible for the next few minutes of Shavasana. And if you prefer to sit for Shavasana, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So taking your time, get comfortable. And if you're already there and you're already comfortable, you might just stay with that breath visualization of expansion with each inhalation, a contraction and sinking down with each exhalation, honoring the two beautiful energies of dark and light that we're celebrating today on the solstice. To feel balanced, we need to feel that expansion. In Sanskrit, it's called sukha, and it relates to ease and joy. We also must acknowledge and be with the more challenging or the darker moments in our lives, in our hearts. And that contraction is called dukkha. And it's also sometimes translated as stress or unease. That's not to say that it's bad or should be eradicated. It's simply a part of who we are as humans, helps us to appreciate the light times even more, and allows us a place to grow from, to contemplate, to learn and grow. And each breath brings us back to a balance. Feeling your breath again, that balance of inhale, exhale, expansion, contraction, dark and light. And then start to surrender a little more into the heaviness. Exhale and drop down. Feel your body supported by the ground. And feel yourself let go into that support. There's no one you need to pretend for right now, nothing you should be feeling. As you sink down, soften and let go, giving yourself space to be with whatever arises, whatever you're aware of, whatever comes into your awareness and consciousness. Just allow it to arise like bubbles coming to the surface of the water. They just dissipate and fade, whatever is present for you. If you feel distracted, just let those thoughts bubble up and dissipate as they come to the surface. There's no need to grasp or hold anything. Let your neck muscles and your jaw start to soften. All the muscles of your face let go. Your throat soft and relaxed. Exhaling, feel your shoulders and arms let go right to the fingertips. The rib cage softening as you melt the shoulder blades into the earth. Soften all around the rib cage. Drop down through your abdomen and lower back. And as you exhale again, feel the weight of your pelvis. Let go of any holding around the hips and pelvis. Let the breath move down into the belly if it's willing, comfortable. And continue to soften and drop with each exhalation. Relaxing the thighs, the knees, the shins and the calves. We worked quite a bit with the legs today. The ankles, the feet, the arches and the tops of your feet, and each toe relaxing. With every breath, feel yourself surrendering, softening. I'll share with you a couple of chants today that talk about the sun and the return of the sun. The sunrise is referred to as a young woman greeting the day, a beautiful young woman greeting each new day and bringing with it the light and expansion. And of course, each day eventually settles back to dark, to night, to contraction, to going inward, to fertilizing, contemplating. So there's this balance in every breath, in every day, in every year. These chants honor the sun and the return of the sun, especially at this time of year. Om Varada Devi Aksharam Brahma Samhitam Gayatri Chandasa Mata Idam Brahma Jushasvanaha Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. So to bring a little more energy into the system, and let the inhalation be your focus of the next few breaths. Of course, you'll exhale as well, but feeling yourself full and expanded with the inhale, bringing in light, expansion, energy. Let the exhale happen, but put a little more emphasis on the energy of the inhalation. And when you feel ready, you can start to move your body. Start with your extremities, fingers and toes leading the way. And then maybe your ankles and wrists get a little movement. And then knees and elbows can start to move, shoulders and hips. Just moving in toward the core from your extremities as you start to move, and then really moving any way that feels good. When you're ready to think about coming upright again, and of course, if you want to stay in Shavasana, you just ignore me and continue to rest and integrate. And whenever you're ready to come upright, you can roll to your side first and make your way back to a seated position. So coming up, bringing the palms together. And as you go about your day, the solstice, your week, several weeks, the holidays, just as you go through life, really, taking with you this idea that light isn't better than dark, dark isn't better than light, that there's a balance. And when we find that balance, we find peace. And ignoring the dark does not bring us peace. Only focusing on what we want is great, but it doesn't ultimately bring us peace. Integration of all of who we are brings us peace. Namaste.